Okay, my friends, we are going to do a money and banking question that was on the AP exam in 2016. I have a tiny bit of a head cold, so I apologize for my nasal voice. Um, you guys can find this question in the AP macro folder for Unit 3. Um, these money and banking questions are, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that when I first started doing economics, this was my approach with all of them. But I have to tell you that I had to get over that, obviously, because I'm teaching the class. And the money and banking questions are actually really good for people who want like a definitive right answer, type A personality. I think that it's nice because they're kind of formulaic. So let go of the fear and welcome the fact that there are some strategies that can help make these questions a little less intimidating and a little less scary. So the first thing is that this is for the balance sheet for First Superior Bank, and I want you all to remember what we know about balance sheets. And what we know about balance sheets is that the assets and the liabilities have to add up to the same number. Okay, so you'll notice that on both sides, we see that the assets and liabilities are adding up to $2,000. And I'm just going to thank the College Board for making these numbers pretty simple so we don't have to worry about, tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, so before I start a money and banking question, I like to just confirm the information that I know, that we've got $2,000 on one side, $2,000 on the other. Okay, so just getting our feet into the question here. Okay, so now it says assume that the required reserve ratio is 10%. So you know that in money and banking questions, the reserve ratio is pretty important to doing the rest of the question. We get the reserve requirement, the required reserves, but we also get the money multiplier, so remember that as well. Okay, so here we go. It says, what is the dollar value of new loans that First Superior Bank can make? Explain. So new loans, of course, and this isn't all information that you need to write down, but I feel like it's just good for visual. New loans have to come from the excess reserves, okay? So you cannot make a loan with the money that's already tied up in loans. These are existing loans that the bank has made, and then there's $200 in the reserves. But I want you to notice something clever. Unlike other bank balance sheets that you may have seen before, notice how there's no excess reserves and required reserves separated here. It's just all in one. So in this bank, the excess reserves and the required reserves, I need to really figure out what those are first before I can answer this question. The reserve ratio is 10%. The total amount of money that's in the bank is $2,000. So 10% of 2,000 has to be in the required reserves. So 10% of 2,000 is 200. There's only $200 in the reserves at all. So that means all of this $200 is in the required. So that means there's $0 in the excess. So the amount of money that they can make of new loans is zero. This bank has no money to loan out. So notice how we're asked for an explanation. I'm going to say that there is no available cash in the excess reserves. So a lot of students I've found in the past look at this $1,800 and they think, oh yeah, they can loan out $1,800. No, that's money that's already out there, okay? So now let's go to Part B. Part B is about Mr. Smith. He deposits $100 in demand deposit account at First Superior Bank. Calculate the maximum amount of new loans that First Superior Bank can now make. So if he's going to put $100 of cash and the reserve requirement is 10%, that means from his $100, $10 is going to go into the required reserves, and the difference, which is 90, is going to go into the excess. Remember that loans can only come from the excess, so therefore they can make $90 of new loans. All we need is a dollar amount there. As a result of Mr. Smith's $100 cash deposit, calculate the maximum change over time in each of the following in the banking system. So this question tripped up a lot of students on the AP exam because they got nervous that there was going to be some repeat answers. Don't get nervous, have confidence, trust me as we move forward. So if $90 can be loaned out, we have to take that $90 and we have to multiply it by the money multiplier. The money multiplier is 1 over the reserve ratio. So in this case, it's 1 over 0.1, which is the same as 1 over 1/10. How do we get rid of a fraction? We multiply by the reciprocal. The money multiplier is 10. So 90 times 10, pretty easy math, is $900. And I think, yes, this was part 1 of that question. $900 of new money in the banking system. Okay? What's the next part of this? The next part is what's going to happen to the demand deposits. This is always really hard for kids to remember. So I'm just going to warn you, if you're a kid that's sitting there and you're thinking like, I don't know how to do this, I don't know what the demand deposits are. The demand deposits are right here. Mr. Smith put cash in a demand deposit. There is information for you to help you. You have to be a critical consumer of the text, and you have to sort of be strategic and think, okay, even if I had no idea how to do this, using the clues that are here, I could figure this out. Mr. Smith put $100 into his demand deposit. So I'm just going to mark that with Smith. His deposit is going to create $900 of new money. The theory is that this $90 is going to get loaned out. People will redeposit it in the bank. That will be loaned out. They'll redeposit it in the bank, so on and so forth. That's the money multiplier. There's your $900 of new money. This money, theoretically, is going to be deposited back into banks. So I'm just writing to you what all this is. These are the other deposits from Smith's original $90 that got loaned out. If we add these two things together, we get $1,000. If that was tricky for you, rewind, go back to the beginning of what I started talking about this, and listen again, okay? As a result of Mr. Smith's $100 cash deposit, calculate the maximum change in the money supply. So I thought it kept going, so I didn't really say that in the right cadence. Calculate the maximum change in the money supply. So as a result of the $100 cash deposit, well, $900 of new money was created in the loans. $90 times 10, which is the money multiplier, is the same way we determine the change in money supply. A lot of kids struggled with the fact that $900 was an answer here and here, and they started to second guess themselves. Don't second guess yourself. Do it the way you're supposed to do it. How you figure out the change in the money supply is that you figure out the excess reserves that they can loan out times the money multiplier gives you 900. What's the second way of getting here? Take Mr. Smith's entire deposit, $100, times the money multiplier, and you get 1,000. But remember, it said change in the money supply. His $100 was already in the money supply. So now I have to delete or subtract that $100, and I still get 900 as an answer. Okay? So you can do it one of two ways. Excess times the money multiplier, boom. Or entire deposit times the money multiplier, subtract what was originally in the money supply, because remember, it was cash, and you get the same answer. E. Provide one reason why the actual change in the money supply can be smaller. Sorry that the focus is messing up. We'll let it relax here. Provide one reason why the actual change in the money supply can be smaller than the maximum change you identified in D. Well, this whole function of the money multiplier is assuming back here, when the money would be deposited back in a bank, it would be loaned out, deposited back in a bank, loaned out. What if one of these sequences didn't occur? So what if this first person never deposited their money back in the bank? Then you'd have nothing new to loan out, nothing new to come in, nothing new to loan out. So there's a variety of answers you could put here. I think the biggest option is that the public doesn't have to deposit their money into a bank. You know, you all know that person that keeps their money in a box underneath their bed or stuffed between the mattress. The other thing is that the bank might choose not to loan out that money. And again, like I always say, don't abbreviate in your answers. I'm just doing that here to teach you. So those are two answers that are possible results. This was a 6-point question. It's a challenging question if you're not feeling confident about the money multiplier and when to use certain things. So that's why we use this question for practice, to grow your confidence, to practice it more. This is a great question for you to revisit in a couple of days from now, or a couple of weeks from now, or a couple of months from now when you're ready to take the AP exam.